Welcome back, everybody. It's Thursday, April 24th, 2025. Born on this date in 1947, singer Ann Kelly of Fairfield. Now, she was an original member of the Hughes Corporation. And in 1994, actor, singer, dancer Jordan Fisher of Birmingham and Trussville. Today's National Pigs in a Blanket Day, so we indulge responsibly. Today on the show, we'll bring on Adam Schwartz. Now, he's a writer, producer, filmmaker, and actor who's best known for his ongoing work with the sketch comedy brand It's a Southern Thing. First, we'll have items on Kash Patel's promise, chronic wasting disease in Georgia, and a festival to honor Sun Ra. I'm Mike Morgan, and we're down in Alabama.
Tax day's always a pain. Next year could be a nightmare. If Congress fails to extend Trump's tax cuts, middle-class families will get hit with a huge tax increase. That means less money for groceries, less money to pay your mortgage, less money for school supplies, and less money for family vacations. A $1,500 tax increase? That's enough to give families the cold sweats. Avoid the nightmare. Save Trump's tax cuts. Learn more at protectprosperity.com. Paid for by Americans for Prosperity.
FBI Director Kash Patel toured the FBI facility at Redstone Arsenal on Wednesday, reports AL.com's Patrick Darrington. Patel said, quote, "We're going to put more and more and more people here on a permanent basis from the FBI. Now, more specifically, he said that by the end of the year, they'll bring 500 more FBI employees to Redstone. And during a confirmation hearing in January, Patel told U.S. Senator Katie Britt that he wanted to send 4,000 more FBI workers to Huntsville. That would raise the total to 6,000. Britt and U.S. Senator Tommy Tuberville joined Patel on his tour. The state of Georgia has now confirmed 2 cases of chronic wasting disease in white-tailed deer. The Georgia Department of Natural Resources Wildlife Resources Division this week announced another case in Berrien County, just 400 yards away from where the first CWD positive deer was taken. Several cases have already cropped up in Alabama in the far northwestern corner of the state in Lauderdale and Colbert counties. Now, while Berrien County, Georgia is more than 100 miles from the Alabama-Georgia line, it is closest to the southeastern corner of Alabama. CWD has also been found in the Florida Panhandle and along the Mississippi Gulf Coast, so it's obviously spread to Alabama's surrounding areas in just about every direction, even if it hasn't been detected throughout our state yet. CWD is a neurological disease that kills deer and elk. So far, there are no treatments. Now, there's no indication that it can spread to humans. But health officials, wildlife officers, Guy Fieri probably, and your grandparents would all agree that you should not eat the meat of a deer with CWD. Right now, Alabama's CWD management zone includes Lauderdale, Colbert, and Franklin counties. For more information, check out outdooralabama.com/CWD-info. A jazz festival is scheduled for May 21st through the 24th in Birmingham to honor the late Sun Ra, reports AL.com's Mary Colurso. Plans are still tentative, but organizers expect to offer concerts, movies, art shows, food, and roundtable discussions at venues such as the Alabama Jazz Hall of Fame, Sidewalk Cinema, the Nick, Seasick Records, Southern Music Research Center, East Village Arts, and Saturn. Now, that's Saturn the Club, not Saturn the Planet, which, incidentally, is where Ra indicated that he was from. Our sources, however, suggest he was probably from Birmingham. Ra was a pioneer in jazz, experimenting with his music and expressing philosophies that crossed over religions and galaxies. He was a unique artist, so it should be a unique festival. May 22nd, which is Ra's birthday, will be Sun Ra Day. He was born in 1914 and died in 1993. Let's take our really quick ad break so we can pay the house band. When we come back, we're going to welcome guest Adam Schwartz from It's a Southern Thing. Y'all stay with us.
The spirit of innovation is deeply ingrained in America, and Google is helping Americans innovate in ways both big and small. The Department of Defense is working with Google to help secure America's digital defense systems, from establishing cloud-based zero-trust solutions to deploying the latest AI technology. This is a new era of American innovation. Find out more at g.co/American innovation.
Campfire season's back, and that means s'mores. But when you're at home treating yourself, take them over ice with Dunkin' S'mores Cold Brew Concentrate. And suddenly you're always treating yourself. The home with Dunkin' is where you want to be. Click or tap the banner to shop now.
Hey, thanks for staying with us, everybody. You know, I should point out to everyone that some of the interviews I've been doing remotely. So if you hear birds or heavy construction equipment or youngins playing in the background, it's because I come down to a local park to video this. But anyway, let's get on to today's second segment. Today in the virtual studio, we have Adam Schwartz. Now, if you're plugged into social media in Alabama to any degree at all, you've seen him at some point. He's been with It's a Southern Thing sketch comedy group before the brand It's a Southern Thing was even a thing. And he's a writer, a producer, a performer. And I think the word filmmaker is still works, even if we don't use film anymore.
Definitely.
How are you doing, Adam?
I'm great. How are you?
So filmmaker, right? That's still
Filmmaker is good. That's where I got my start, my training as a filmmaker. So I like to hold on to the title as much as I can.
Welcome to Down in Alabama Studios, where we're outdoors today. I need to point out for folks that It's a Southern Thing is another brand of Alabama Media Group, which also controls AL.com, which feeds Down in Alabama. So we probably share some grand bosses or great grand bosses along the way. I'm not sure how we're corporately related.
Yeah, we absolutely are. We got the same family tree, the same work family tree here.
Yeah, and we've gotten to work together before. Now, all of that's to say that It's a Southern Thing didn't come out of nowhere to go viral. But man, when it hit, it really hit big. Tell me about the genesis.
Yeah, it's kind of a long, weird story. I was hired to work for Alabama Media Group back in 2015, which is 10 years ago now, which is crazy.
Wow, I know.
I think that it's been that long.
Yeah.
And basically, when I was brought on, I was just brought on to make video content for AL.com. It was during I think all the media companies were making a big push for video, and I was part of that for AL.com. There was a new team. They were calling it AL.com Studios at the time, and it was kind of this wild west of video production for AL.com. And we had a really diverse team from a skill set perspective. Pretty early on. We had, we weren't hiring journalists, we were hiring filmmakers and that sort of thing. And we were given a lot of creative free reign is really what we were given. And we could just experiment and try things. And one of the people who was hired around the same time as me is Robert Clay, who does SEC Shorts. And he had been doing SEC Shorts prior to working for AMG, but he brought SEC Shorts with him, and he started doing it for AMG. And that really paved the way for comedy and sketch comedy. And we started to incorporate a little bit of that on AL.com. Every time, if there was a big news story, I think it was around the time of the whole Governor Bentley scandal, we kind of poked fun at that with some comedy videos and some Birmingham politics stuff. And so we started to experiment with comedy thanks to SCC Schwartz kind of paving the way and showing that sketch comedy does have a place and a role. And when we started the brand, This is Alabama, which was for, that's still around. And we started it to be kind of good news documentary pieces about the state, like just kind of fun, share the good stories. And they were producing short doc pieces for that. And me being just kind of in the Wild West, it was like, what if we started doing Southern sketch comedy and we'll put it on This is Alabama? Because we discovered early on that AL.com wasn't really maybe the right place for comedy, because you'd have, scrolling through the feed, you got a story about people being murdered downtown with like funny sweet tea videos.
And if anyone's noticed, no one has a sense of humor about politics anymore.
I'll make jokes about that. And so we started, and so I just wrote a couple of sketches. I think the first ones that we did for This is Alabama were, there's one called What Bless Your Heart Really Means. And there was another one called If GPS Navigation Was Southern. And we posted that one, and that was just me and another guy, Ian, riding around in a car, listening to the GPS give us very Southern directions. Like, go a piece down the road, take a left by the old gas station, which is now just an abandoned lot.
It was gold, folks. Go find it. Ian Hoppy and Adam Schwartz are in, are talking to the GPS and getting frustrated.
And those videos took off. It was viral in a way that I had never experienced before. They really hit. And this was on Facebook primarily. And they just got millions of views. And from there it was like, well, maybe there's something to this. So we kept making sketch comedy for This is Alabama, and it kept doing pretty well. And so eventually it was like, well, we can't, I think we have a bigger audience than just Alabama. I think this is appealing to Southerners. And so in August of 2017, we finally decided to launch It's a Southern Thing, so that we could expand the footprint and encapsulate that sort of regional appeal. And the rest is history. There it is.
Well, I mean, how surreal did things get when it hit? Being recognized at Piggly Wiggly and all that stuff.
Yeah, it's weird. And I never really thought that could happen, before. It's like, if you were making videos, the internet was still kind of an exploratory place. It's not like what it is now, even with like TikTok and Instagram and everybody kind of doing video now. Anybody can be a creator. It still really wasn't that. And even before then, if you wanted to make it big, it's like there was certain like gatekeeping things that you had to pass. You had to like get an agent, and you had to get certain credits in film and TV, and et cetera. And like you kind of had to make a break there. And so I never really thought that it would be possible to take off in a way that's purely social on social media. And yeah, it's bizarre. I mean, getting recognized at the grocery store and going places and be like, hey, people may not know my name, but they're like, you're that guy from the Southern videos. I'm like, it's me. And people are always really nice. And it's very surreal. And I especially doing Southern comedy. I mean, I've lived in the South all my life, and it's, it's just kind of been my existence. So to sort of turn a lens back on that and to be able to sort of make videos about just what I thought is normal has been interesting introspectively, and also to be kind of recognized as the Southern figure, I guess. And you still get a lot of people who are like, oh, he doesn't have a Southern accent. He doesn't, he's not from the South. Like, well, no, I am. And
we are diverse.
Yeah, we are.
And everybody knows that. They're just expected to, to hear the Jerry Clower come out of everybody.
That's right.
Well, you said that people will recognize you, but they might not know your name. Would you say you've been called Kevin more than Adam?
Yes. Yeah. People, yeah, especially in the comments, they're like, "What's Kevin doing?" We started doing the videos, and it was me and Talia Lynn playing Kevin and Diana, this Southern couple, and I guess people just thought that's who we were because they thought my name was Kevin. They think her name's Diana, and they think that we're actually a married couple.
Right.
And so I go out with my wife, and people are like, "Oh, you're not the girl from the video."
Uh-oh.
Like,
You're
what's
busted,
Kevin
buddy.
doing? Who's Kevin two-timing? Like, no, this is my real wife. That's my TV wife. We'd always have to answer the question, and people are like, "Are y'all married in real life?" And we say, "We are, but not to each other."
uh, Now, this whole thing, at one point, you guys produced a TV pilot. Am I right? I
We
mean, tell me about that. That's got to be an experience in it, of itself.
What was really cool about that experience was that we did a Kickstarter to fund it,
Uh-huh.
and I think our target goal was $50,000 to produce the pilot, and we raised just from the fans alone $66,000. I think we surpassed our fundraising
Wow.
goal for that. So that was the coolest. One of the coolest things about that was that the fans really rallied and supported our efforts to make a TV pilot, and then making it was a whole another level of production. I mean, when we do sketches, it's a very small team. It's like 3 to 4 people. I always tell people that if you actually were on set with us and you see like what's going on, you're like, "Oh, is that it? Okay." Because it's a really small footprint, and it's just really kind of grassroots filmmaking.
Uh-huh.
And doing the pilot was legit production. We had a crew upwards of 30 people.
Wow.
And a big cast, and because we had the budget to do it, we had, thanks to the Southern Thing fans, we were able to do something on that large of a scale. And it was written by Matt Mitchell and me and Luke Porter, and it was a full 30-minute, half-hour comedy pilot called Broken News about a down-and-out news station in rural Alabama in a fictional town called Burndale. And I think it had a lot of potential. And we were able to produce the pilot. I think it took us 2 weeks to film.
Mhm.
Like 2 5-day weeks, full 5-day weeks to film, which doing a sketch, we film it in a day, maybe, we got
Right.
film it in like 4 hours or something.
Uh-huh.
And this took us 2 full weeks to film, use locations from all around Birmingham and in Tuscaloosa. And all the cast and the crew were from the South, and we were really proud of that because I think it's really, really fun to showcase Southern talent. And yeah, it was. I directed it, co-directed it with Luke Porter, and it was a lot of fun. And the pilot exists on YouTube in 3 parts. It's like a 3-part webisodes, just because putting a 30-minute video on YouTube isn't exactly the most algorithm friendly, but we broke it up into 3 parts.
We'll link to that in show notes.
Cool.
So y'all shot on location. You mentioned Tuscaloosa. It wasn't just studio.
Yeah, all on location. We we created the news studio. The news studio was 2 different locations we used for the actual news set. There was a studio at the BJCC that we used, and we were able to build that out, and that was really cool. And then for the offices, we found a sort of an empty office building downtown Birmingham that we were able to use for like a full week. And because it was empty, we were able to put whatever we wanted in there. So production designers Blake Hudson had a great time filling those spaces. And then we filmed on location at a gas station in Birmingham. We went to Tuscaloosa to film. Tuscaloosa was actually the news station control room. We went all the way to University of Alabama and filmed at Reese Pfeiffer
Okay.
Hall
Yeah.
for that. And then yeah, went on location to a neighborhood to film like a lemonade stand.
I know it's a lot of work, but that really sounds fun, and I guess that's what you want to get across anyway. And what a great idea, a dying news station. I mean, um, yeah, you had me on board, but things are what they are in the business, you know.
Yeah, it's tough, and the pilot was always created as a pilot, as a proof of concept pilot, and then the goal was to shop it around and try to get see if studios were interested and that sort of thing. And we had a few meetings here and there, but ultimately nothing materialized. But that's just the nature of things, and
Oh yeah,
it's tough to get things greenlit these days, especially. But
yeah,
it was
great
definitely
experience.
a great experience and a good process, a good learning process, and just an interesting process.
Okay, yeah. Let's talk about me for a minute.
Okay.
Y'all were nice enough to do a sketch video one time and invite me along. It went crazy on the internet. I guess viral, and I got a lot of comments and backpats over the years. Folks need to know that Adam wrote. Yeah, correct me if I'm wrong. Most or all of it. I'm talking about the Southern Drivers Ed
Oh
teacher
yeah.
thing.
Oh yeah, that was a good one.
That was
You were
all
in two of
you.
those. I think did we do like a part two as
We
well?
did. We did.
And I'm sitting in the back seat getting car sick, watching the monitor.
Yeah, I remember you and Ian were both in the back and
Yeah.
both feeling pretty woozy.
Yeah.
And I should mention Lauren Musgrove, who played the student who actually acted. I mean, you gave me a script. She reacted to what I said. So she was doing the work to sell what I was trying to do. Um, but that was so much fun. And I appreciate it. But I wanted to give the credit to where it's due. I mean, because you actually invited me to try to improvise a little bit. And Buddy Rowe, I have never been that blank in my life. I'm like, this is right up my alley. Why am I not just, why is this stuff not just coming out of me? But yeah,
You
it's
were
more
great in that
work.
sketch. So good that we asked you to back for another one. And you've appeared on It's a Southern Thing a few times. I think didn't we do like didn't they try to stump you or something? Or you played Florida Man or something?
I did Florida Man one time. And I did back porch bickering a couple of
That's right.
times when we did that
You were one
series.
of the original back porch bicker, and it was you and Matt with the was it sweet tea versus unsweet tea?
That's right. Yeah, y'all were nice enough to make me unsweet tea, which is what I drink. So it was natural, for me to do that. It was honest, but yeah, I was gonna lose that. I mean, give
That's
me
a
a
bold
break.
admission.
That is, yeah, yeah. Well, I feel strongly about it, but actually, I like both. So, but so I use the calories elsewhere. But yeah, I just wanted to make sure you got credit because there's all this stuff going on in these scripts being written that is more work, I think, than folks realize. You're not just out there improvising all the time.
Right. Yeah, we definitely have scripts for a majority of them, and Matt Mitchell wrote a lot of the scripts, and I wrote a good number of them, and yeah, and we had a rhythm going for a while. We were churning out one sketch a week, which looking back on that, I'm like, how did we ever do that? I'm so old now. I'm so tired.
There are so many.
There
The
are.
internet is thick with It's a Southern Thing videos.
Yeah. Yes, it is. Yeah, we've been doing it for, I guess this is what, 8 years? Yeah, this will be 8 years this year.
Yeah, and I think it really, I go ahead and predate that back to when you talked about doing the Southern GPS. I mean, you just hadn't named it It's a Southern Thing yet.
Right. Yeah. Yeah. That goes back to 2016. I think GPS came out probably early 2016.
hmm hmm Well, which comes first for you, the comedy and the writing, or the filmmaking, or something else?
Oh man. I don't know. I think what I actually enjoy the most is editing.
Really?
Yeah, that's one of my favorite places to be because uh, shooting is it's a work day. You're doing physical labor. You're up. You're moving the gear around. It's shooting is actually pretty tedious. You know, depending on the script. I mean, you're getting coverage. You're getting multiple angles. You know, it's you gotta think about it. You gotta direct it, and writing is really fun too. I love writing and sort of workshopping scripts, but editing I feel like is where the video is made. Like now you have the pieces, and now you can play with them and you can put them together and you can shape it and you can polish it up and add music and sound effects, and that's really where you have the power to actually create the video. And I can say more often than not, a lot of videos are saved in editing, where we get to the editing room, we're like, oh no, maybe we should have done it this way, and I'm like, aha, but we can do it this way. And that's kind of the fun of figuring out the puzzle. So I really enjoy editing, but I mean, I enjoy the whole process. You know, from writing, shooting, directing, acting, which is something that I'm not trained in. I have no formal acting training.
And that's how people see you now, you know.
Just started doing it because we were making videos, and I put myself in them and kept going. But yeah.
Well, you play them well. I mean, you created this whole Southern character that that people know. That's pretty accomplished.
Yeah, I mean, it's fun. It's really fun. And with acting, I love playing characters. I love getting to do like weird voices or things like that. And some of my favorite videos to make are things like parodies, movie and TV show parodies or commercial parodies, things where I feel like I get to flex a little bit more and kind of mimic a style. You know, like we did the Twilight Zone parody, the Unsolved Mysteries one, the Marvel superhero trailer parody. Like, those are super fun for me because it's like you get to kind of look at a style and a movie style and get to recreate the way some things are shot, and it's a lot of fun.
Yeah, and that kind of dovetails with this, with your creative influences. I always love to hear people's creative influences. We always do it with music bands, you know. Oh, they were influenced by the Beatles, but everybody's got them. What kind of voices are in your head when you're working?
Oh man, I guess my comedy influences, it's kind of, you know, it all sort of has its roots in sketch comedy and SNL. And you know, a lot of the early SNL guys, and then I think my era of SNL was you know, the mid to late 90s, with the sort of the tail end of the you know, the Adam Sandler, Chris Farley, Mike Myers, and then into the Will Ferrell, Tim Meadows, Sherry O'Terry, Chris Kattan era. So that was like where that's what I identify as my SNL era. But really, you know, a lot of comedy influence comes from, you know, guys like Harold Ramis. You know, I think Harold Ramis was incredibly influential. Harold Ramis and Dan Aykroyd. Influential for me, one, being a huge Ghostbusters fan, but also, you know, Harold Ramis as a writer and as a director. You know, I watched a lot of his movies that he either wrote or directed, and even TV shows where he got to do that, like The Office. I think he was hugely influential, and I really enjoy that style of comedy where it feels, you know, it's outlandish, but it feels grounded. You know, it's like, you know, movies like Ghostbusters or Groundhog Day.
Oh yeah.
Caddyshack is out there, but you know,
yeah, he lost control of that one.
Yeah, he sure did. But
Stripes,
which was Ivan Reitman, who did Ghostbusters, and so Ivan Reitman, his 80s movies were a big influence on me, and you know, I kind of like to find some sort of grounding element to the comedy, where then you can sort of hook people, and then if you take it and make it crazy or outlandish, it's a great journey. You know, Ghostbusters, for example, and I could talk about Ghostbusters for days, but you know, it just starts out as like three professors who lose their jobs and start a business, and that sounds very kind of real world. It's gritty New York, even though there's a bit of a supernatural element. it starts out in this sort of very grounded situation, and by the end of the movie, a giant marshmallow man is walking down the street, and but you have this sort of gritty New York, three guys just trying to start a business uh, framework that makes it feel more tangible. It's not inaccessible, and that's really what I like about that comedy.
Yeah, you feel like you know those guys. I mean, even the ones that are really roguish, like most Bill Murray characters, are not necessarily good people,
They're
but
not.
but but you feel like you know them, and yet there's something, even though they're ridiculous, there's something real about the comedy that makes you laugh. And I think older folks, even who were older at the time, laughed at Bill Murray because he had that guy thing. I don't know how to describe it, but
Yeah, he's the guy you can identify with, and the comedy comes from. It's like Abbott and Costello meet Frankenstein. It's that same sort of humor where it's like you have these characters that are kind of silly, a little bit real world characters, and you put them in scary situations, and the comedy comes from how they react to it and how they handle it. Seeing somebody like Bill Murray's Peter Venkman encounter a ghost is funny because he's that like flippant New York. Uh, you know, he's a terrible professor. He's just he's not a great guy. You put him in front of scary things, and the way he reacts to it is funny. So
Yeah, it's probably real life also. The Bill Murray's the heart of gold guy, and he probably carries that into his characters somehow that makes you like him, even though he's he's a real jerk at least half the time.
yeah,
Well, I wanted to ask: is Southern comedy? You made reference to these New York characters like the Bill Murray characters, yet they're identifiable for me and you sitting here in Alabama. Is Southern comedy its own genre, or, I mean, what makes it Southern?
that's a really good question. It's a question we wrestle with a lot, because it's easy to say like it's Southern comedy when it's Southerners making the comedy, even if it's
Right.
not necessarily topically Southern or culturally Southern. But then, of course, Southern comedy tends to deal with culturally Southern idiosyncrasies, I guess, for lack of a better word. Um, like it deals with sort of the way that Southerners view the world or interact with the world versus the way that maybe a different part of the country or the world would do so. So like you know if it's dinner time, Southern comedy will tell you that when it's dinner time, Southern Granny is going to make enough food for 700 people, and
Right.
and which is and everybody in the South can relate to that. But then you see, there are other places and other people in the world that can also relate to that. Like we always have a big, um, showing of Latino folks in the comments that are like, yeah, that's Abuela does the same thing, and it's
Mhm.
there's a lot of similarities, a lot of cross cultural similarities. But Southern comedy, it's gonna have a little bit of a twang to it. It's gonna have a little bit of a down home feel to it. Um, but yeah, it's a good question to try to define, because we do a lot of sketches with people that may not necessarily like beat you over the head with their southernness. So like me, for
Mm.
example, or like people who don't have super strong southern accents or whatever. And yet, like we're talking about the South and we're representing the South. So there's a lot of relatability for Southerners and just sort of general relatability, just the human condition. But it
Mhm.
is, I think, always sort of through the lens of a Southerner. It's how the Southerners just interact with life.
Yeah, yeah. Well, you have the obvious Southern comedy like Foxworthy, but you
Right.
you also have, you know, Henry Cho or Roy
Hmm.
Wood Jr., who that's through their lens, and they're often dipping into the South, even though it's not necessarily their central theme. And yeah, and one thing I also noticed with it's a Southern thing, so many comments, like you said, but it could. My favorite one is same thing in Pennsylvania, same
Yeah,
thing in Ohio, same thing in Alaska. Like you guys got it wrong. It's really, Idaho that shares this. Well, there's a thing called the human condition, I guess. And that's what you
exactly.
guys tap into.
The world is a smaller place. And it's funny because our name, the name of the channel, tends to bite us sometimes when we'll make a video that's relatable to a lot of people, because then they get in the comments and they're mad. They're like, "Not just a Southern thing." Like, okay, okay.
Or yeah, I noticed on the one that I did, the bad driving. We're great drivers in the South. You should go somewhere else.
Have you been on 280,
Have
commenter?
you been on 280? That is absolutely right. Um, Absolutely. Well, do you have a favorite work that people ought to know, if they know anything, if they've completely missed the boat, haven't seen you? What should they check out? Southern thing or otherwise?
Oh man, I mean, definitely check out It's a Southern Thing. And I would point to I guess a few videos. Some of the ones that I mentioned, like the Twilight Zone, the Marvel trailer.
Okay.
Those are really fun. The classics. They've got a lot of classics. There's one called "A Woman's Purse is a Mysterious Thing," which is one of our highest viewed videos on Facebook. That always is a hit. There's another one about how women get their grandma names. That's really classic.
I
Um,
mean, I know you don't want to give spoilers, but it's been out. How do
oh, it's
women
out.
get their grandma names?
Yeah, this one's it takes place at a what's like a jewelry store. But what she's doing is she's picking out her grandma name, and she's trying on different grandma names. Like, here's the Mimi, and here's the Meemaw, and here's the Granny. And she goes into her head, and she'll put on the Granny, and then she'll feel it, and like she has this sort of vision of her sitting on a rocking chair with a shotgun. It's like, Granny, dinner's ready, and she's like, no, I don't want this one. And she tries on the Mimi, and it's this really sort of glam, like glam grandma. And then and she's like, no, no, maybe not this one. And then we have a joke at the end where somebody has to return their grandma name, because even though they wanted it, the kid picked something else, and they went with whatever they could pronounce.
Oh, rejected. Rejected,
Rejected.
because the kid is the ultimate decider.
Right.
I had this conversation. This is crazy. I had this conversation with a cousin just last weekend that, used to, it seemed like grandmothers were a lot more comfortable with some of the standard names, but you don't hear many grannies or meemaws anymore in the
No.
last few years. Now I'm going to hear from people, and my cousin immediately said, "Oh, I'm meemaw," and I said, "Well, you had a good influence with a meemaw that I know of," but yeah, people are getting a little crazy with some of the names. I
They're
don't
getting
even.
super creative. Yeah, it's like, you know, my parents are they're Grammy and Poppy. But my son calls my mom. He can't pronounce Grammy. He's almost 2, and he says Poppy Gigi. So she's Gigi now.
That'll stick.
Yeah. She's like, no, say Grammy. I'm like, I'm sorry. I don't know what to do. He chose. He made his choice.
Is what's coming up for you? Is anything we need to be watching for?
Oh, we're still doing sketches here and there. We're trying to ramp back up into doing sort of regular sketches, and we're doing shorts for It's a Southern Thing. I every once in a while I dabble in some personal projects.
Mhm.
Still collaborating with Matt Mitchell here and there,
Okay.
and doing some, trying to flex some of my other interests on my personal social channels. I've been making Star Trek parody videos. I had a long series of chopped parody videos on TikTok and Instagram that were just reels that was really fun to do. I did those a couple of years ago. Had to
Uh,
stop because then I had a baby, and that took up a lot of time. But yeah, so more sketches on It's a Southern Thing. We're doing we call the show So True Y'all, so that's what we're going to be doing more of. We've got a sketch. Well, I don't know when this is going to air, so I can say it's coming out today, but about the
okay.
bugs. Bugs are plotting.
So it's the bugs are plotting. It's already out then. By the
Uh,
time they hear this.
by the time you hear this, yeah, it'll be out. That'll be our most recent sketch, I guess.
Okay.
And yeah, what else? Yeah, just flexing be here on Southern Thing, and then trying to do some personal projects on my personal social pages. Star Trek parodies have been fun for me because I'm a huge Star Trek fan. And one of these days we'll do a if Star Trek was Southern. I think I've got some ideas churning for that.
Yeah, I'll send you some notes. Yeah, that might be fun to contribute to.
Yeah, the worlds will collide there.
Oh, Adam, thanks for taking the time to talk to us.
Thank you for having me. This was fun.
Oh yeah, I love it. It's a new world. We're trying to do more of these chat segments, and it's a blast for me getting to meet folks. And of course, I've met you a long time ago, but I loved getting to catch up with you, see what's going on, and tell your story to folks. Folks, Adam Schwartz. I am going to link in show notes to a number of things, Adam, and It's a Southern Thing. So y'all check that out. I mean, you can find him all over social media anyway, searching for It's a Southern Thing. But thanks, everybody, for listening to us. We're going to be back here bright and early in the morning. Until then, y'all come by and see us anytime you want to on the internet at al.com.
Roll Tide.